The two most famous mail carriers on television, I don't know, they've got to be Cliff Clavin on Cheers, maybe Newman on Seinfeld. Clavin's a blowhard. Newman is downright evil. Hello, Newman. Both are a bit incompetent. That was an image of the mailman inspired by those two characters for a long time. But today's guest, Stephen Grant, found out how wrong that stereotype is. At 50, when COVID struck, he was suddenly out of his corporate gig. He'd been a marketing consultant, and delivering mail would be a major pay cut. With a family to support, he needed work. And more importantly, he needed health insurance immediately because he'd been recently diagnosed with prostate cancer. So once he became a mailman, he discovered it was a tough job. Used to mental work, this was physically strenuous, and he had a rural route in Appalachia. They take their motto seriously at the post office. Neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. And once he was out on the road and completing those rounds, he found out there was a lot more than just rain and snow. There are some crazy citizens out there, sometimes armed and dangerous, not to mention the mailman's nemesis, the angry dog. But there were benefits not spelled out in his contract: pride in getting something accomplished, getting to know quirky people at work, learning about America at a very granular and ground level. And he had plenty of time by himself, giving him a chance to think about his life and the world in general. Today, he's back to white-collar work, but he hasn't forgotten the very important lessons from delivering the mail. And he's here to discuss his well-reviewed brand new book about those days. It's called Mailman, My Wild Ride, Delivering the Mail in Appalachia and Finally Finding Home. Stephen, I have learned from you, the mailman or the mailwoman knows an awful lot. Explain.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, from my very first day in the post office, I could hear the carrier on my home route 2 cases over say, "He's got a big house up on Brush Mountain. I don't know what he's doing here." Is he a professor? Blacksburg's a college town, home of Virginia Tech. And no, he worked for Prudential for a while. I think he's some kind of economist, because I got The Economist magazine. And, and so immediately I was like, whoa, they know a lot about me. Oh, he has 2 new cars. That was another piece of data that had gotten filed away. And, your letter carrier knows when your birthdays are, who your relatives are you a heavy Amazon user? Or are you a light Amazon user? And sure, everything from Amazon comes in that anonymous brown box. But other stuff, from J. Crew or bath products or whatever, your prescription medication, if that comes in the mail, they see all of it. If you have a relative in prison, federal or state, we can see the return address on that letter when it comes into the mailbox.
Well, and you're playing nice, because there's a part of the book that discusses the, I think, Adam and Eve superstore, and those who are routinely receiving. Hey, the book is partly like a sociologist understanding of how we survived the pandemic. I'll begin the thought, and you complete it. There was a lot of talk at the start of the pandemic that people were going to learn to knit or paint, learn to keep bees or make sourdough. So much sourdough talk. But the mail doesn't lie. Okay, what did you learn about the pandemic? How did we survive?
So, there's these public performances that people were putting onto social media, and then I was seeing what was going into folks' mailboxes. Enormous boxes of weed from Colorado where it was legal at the time. I remember at one point a box busted open on the loading dock, and I looked across at another carrier who we were both loading our trucks up, and I was like, "Is that marijuana I'm smelling?" And these vape capsules had busted open all over the concrete there. Folks were trapped in their homes. The number of people during that year, particularly at the beginning of the pandemic when the lockdown was really being taken seriously, I would see folks, and I was almost proof of the outside world. Oh, gosh, I haven't talked to another living soul in person in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months. And it struck me that the Postal Service delivers more than just the mail. We delivered a sense of dependability, regularity, normalcy to people, particularly during those times of the national emergency that was the pandemic. But
you said You said, Stephen, that you learned to love your country by virtue of this job. Just take 60 seconds and tell me how.
This is a good country full of good people that do good work, that are worried about their families. You know, the segment that you had on earlier today about this disconnect between what people perceive as happening out there versus what is actually happening in their homes and the reality of what life is like in this country. I saw people from all different socioeconomic levels, from different sides of the political spectrum. Everybody ate dinner together. People were taking care of their families. People wanted to work hard. People were concerned about their neighbors. And I saw that house after house after house on the mountaintop, down in the valley, down in town. This is a good country. And yet that isn't available in these algorithmic news feeds that we see. And part of the story I wanted to tell was like, your letter carrier sees it.
You told it well. The book's great. It's called Mailman. Thank you for being here.